Ellie's world shattered in a single sentence, whispered in the locker room's stifling air. She's a lesbian. Her twin sister Mia had betrayed her secret to the coach, and now the team's star striker was benched indefinitely. In that moment, Ellie felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, judging, dismissing, erasing her from the game she loved. Ellie Harper, 25, had always been the firebrand of Willow Creek's women's soccer team. Her short, chestnut hair was perpetually tousled from diving saves and relentless sprints, her green eyes blazing with a passion that made her a local legend. She'd grown up in this small Ohio town, where the soccer field was her sanctuary, the one place where her speed and grit outshone the whispers of a community that clung to old ways. But that sanctuary crumbled when Mia, her identical twin, let slip the truth Ellie had guarded since high school. Mia, with her polished smile and need for approval, had always been the good twin, the one who fit in. Ellie was the rebel, the one who loved too fiercely, too openly, especially when it came to Nora. Nora Bennett, also 25, was the quiet counterpoint to Ellie's storm. With long wavy blonde hair and eyes like a summer sky, Nora carried a gentle strength that anchored Ellie through every tempest. They'd met 2 years ago at a local bookstore, where Nora's soft laugh over a spilled coffee had sparked something in Ellie she couldn't ignore. Their love was a secret kept from Willow Creek's prying eyes, a fragile flame they nurtured in stolen moments. But now, with Ellie's secret exposed, that flame was at risk of being snuffed out. The fallout was immediate. Coach Daniels, a man whose gruff exterior hid a rigid moral code, called Ellie into his office the next day. "This team has values," he said, his voice cold. "You're a distraction now. You're off the roster." Ellie stood frozen, her fists clenched, as years of sweat and sacrifice unraveled. She wanted to scream that her love for Nora didn't change her game, that her headers and tackles were still flawless. But the door shut behind her, and the silence was deafening. Ellie drove straight to Nora's apartment, her vision blurred with tears. Nora opened the door, her face softening with concern. "Ellie, what happened?" she asked, pulling her inside. The story spilled out in jagged pieces. Mia's betrayal, the coach's verdict, the team's sidelong glances. Nora listened, her hand steady on Ellie's, her presence a lifeline. "We'll get through this," Nora whispered, her voice firm despite the worry in her eyes. "You're more than this team." But Ellie wasn't so sure. Soccer was her identity, her way of proving she was more than the troubled twin in a town that loved to label. Without it, who was she? That night, as she lay beside Nora, staring at the ceiling, doubt gnawed at her. Could she fight this? Should she? The town's judgment felt like a tidal wave, and she wasn't sure she could swim against it. The next morning, Ellie woke to a text from Mia. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen." Rage flared in Ellie's chest. She wanted to confront her twin, to demand why Mia had shattered her trust. But Nora, ever the voice of reason, urged her to wait. "You're hurt, but yelling won't fix this," Nora said, her hand brushing Ellie's cheek. "Let's figure out what you want first." What Ellie wanted was her life back, her team, her purpose, her place in Willow Creek. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized this fight was bigger than soccer. It was about her right to love, to be herself without shame. She wasn't just fighting for her spot on the team. She was fighting for her dignity. Ellie spent the day pacing Nora's small apartment, her mind racing. She remembered the whispers in high school, the way classmates sneered when she cut her hair short or wore her brother's old jackets. She'd fought those battles alone, but now she had Nora, and maybe, just maybe, she had allies she hadn't considered. Her teammate Sarah had texted her last night. "This is bullshit. We need you." Sarah was one of the few who'd always had Ellie's back, a defender whose loyalty on the field extended off it. By evening, Ellie made a decision. She wouldn't let Coach Daniels or Mia's betrayal define her. She'd fight. Not just to get back on the team, but to show Willow Creek that love didn't make her less. She looked at Nora, who was reading on the couch, and felt a surge of courage. "I'm going to talk to the team," Ellie said, her voice steady for the first time in days. "I'm not done yet." Nora's smile was like sunlight breaking through clouds. "That's my girl," she said, pulling Ellie into a hug. As they held each other, Ellie felt the first spark of hope. This was her game now, and she was ready to play. The team's practice field was a battlefield of memories for Ellie. Every sprint, every goal, every bruise had shaped her here, but now it felt foreign, like a home she'd been evicted from. She stood at the edge of the field, watching her former teammates run drills under the late afternoon sun, their shouts echoing with a camaraderie she no longer shared. Ellie's heart pounded as she approached Sarah after practice. Sarah's dark braid swung as she jogged over, her expression a mix of anger and relief. "Ellie, you shouldn't be out here alone," Sarah said, glancing at the other players. "Daniels is on a warpath." "I need to talk to the team," Ellie said, her voice low but firm. "I'm not letting him erase me." Sarah nodded, her eyes fierce. "Half the team thinks this is crap. Let's do it." That evening, Sarah gathered the team at her house, a cramped but cozy place filled with mismatched furniture and the smell of pizza. Ellie stood in the living room, facing a dozen women she'd bled with on the field. Some looked curious, others uncomfortable. Mia wasn't there. Ellie wasn't ready to face her twin yet. "I didn't choose to be outed," Ellie began, her voice shaking but growing stronger. "My sister told coach I'm a lesbian, and he benched me for it. But I'm still the same player who's carried this team to the playoffs. I love Nora, and that doesn't change how I play." She paused, scanning their faces. "I need to know if you'll fight for me." The room was silent for a moment. Then Sarah spoke up. "Ellie's our best striker. Daniels is letting his bias screw us over. I say we demand a meeting with him." A few players nodded, Lila, the goalkeeper, and Jess, a midfielder, but others shifted uneasily. "What if he kicks us all off?" asked Tara, a rookie. "This town isn't exactly progressive." "Then we fight harder," Ellie said, her green eyes blazing. "If we let him do this to me, who's next?" The words hung heavy, and slowly more heads nodded. They agreed to confront Coach Daniels at the next practice, but Ellie knew it wouldn't be easy. Daniels was a pillar in Willow Creek, a man whose word was law on the field. That night, Ellie and Nora sat on their favorite park bench, the one overlooking the river where they'd shared their first kiss. The air was crisp, the stars sharp against the night sky. "What if they don't back me?" Ellie asked, her voice small. Nora took her hand, her touch warm and steady. "Then we find another way," Nora said. "You're not alone in this, Ellie. You never will be." The next day, the team gathered before practice, Ellie at the front. Coach Daniels stood with his arms crossed, his face a mask of disapproval. "What's this about?" he demanded. Sarah stepped forward. "We want Ellie back. She's our best player, and you know it." Daniel's jaw tightened. "This isn't about her skills. It's about team unity. Her lifestyle is a distraction." "Her lifestyle?" Lila snapped, her voice sharp. "She's dating Nora. That's it. You're the one making it a problem." The team murmured agreement, but Daniels didn't budge. "My decision stands," he said. "Now get to practice." Ellie felt her hope flicker, but Sarah grabbed her arm as the team dispersed. "This isn't over," she whispered. "We'll go to the athletic board." The board oversaw the town's sports programs, a group of locals who prided themselves on fairness. It was a long shot, but it was something. Back at Nora's apartment, Ellie's resolve wavered. "What if this is all for nothing?" she asked, staring at the floor. Nora knelt in front of her, lifting her chin. "You're fighting for who you are, Ellie. That's never nothing." Their lips met in a kiss that felt like a promise, and for a moment, the world was just them. But the world outside was relentless. Rumors spread through Willow Creek, fueled by Mia's betrayal. Ellie's phone buzzed with messages, some supportive, others cruel. One from an unknown number read, "Leave town, freak." Ellie deleted it, but the words lingered. She hadn't spoken to Mia since the incident, and the silence between them was a wound that wouldn't heal. The athletic board meeting was set for the end of the week. Ellie spent the days preparing, gathering statements from teammates and even a few parents who'd seen her play. Nora helped her draft a speech, her calm presence a balm to Ellie's nerves. "You're going to make them listen," Nora said, her blue eyes bright with belief. As the meeting approached, Ellie felt the weight of her fight. It wasn't just about soccer anymore. It was about proving she belonged not just on the team but in this town, in this world. She looked at Nora, her anchor, and knew that no matter what happened, she'd keep fighting. For them. The athletic board meeting was held in the town hall, a squat brick building that smelled of old wood and coffee. Ellie stood at the podium, her hands gripping the edges as she faced the 5 board members. 3 men and 2 women, all middle-aged, all pillars of Willow Creek. The room was packed with teammates, parents, and curious locals, their eyes boring into her. "I'm Ellie Harper," she began, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "I've played soccer for this town since I was 8. I've led our team to 3 championships. But Coach Daniels benched me because I'm a lesbian. That's not fair, and it's not right." She laid out her case. Her stats, her dedication, the team's support. She read Sarah's statement, then Lila's, their words painting her as indispensable. The board listened, their faces unreadable. When she finished, the room was silent until Mr. Thompson, the board chair, leaned forward. "This is a serious accusation, Ms. Harper. Coach Daniels says you're a distraction. What do you say to that?" Ellie's heart raced, but she thought of Nora waiting outside. "The only distraction is his prejudice," she said. "I play to win, not to cause drama. My personal life doesn't change that." The board deliberated for days, leaving Ellie in limbo. She spent those days with Nora trying to stay grounded. They walked through the park hand in hand, ignoring the stares. Nora told stories of her childhood in Chicago, her dreams of opening a bookstore, and Ellie clung to those moments of normalcy. But the tension was inescapable. Mia had left voicemails, each one a plea for forgiveness, but Ellie wasn't ready to listen. On the 3rd day, Sarah called with news. The board wanted to meet again, this time with Coach Daniels present. Ellie's stomach churned as she prepared. Nora helped her choose a sharp blazer, a rare departure from her usual jeans. "You look like a warrior," Nora said, kissing her forehead. Ellie smiled, but inside she was terrified. At the meeting, Daniels stood tall, his voice booming. "I'm protecting the team's focus," he said. "Ellie's situation has caused division." Sarah shot back. "You caused the division by benching her." The room buzzed with tension, and Ellie felt the weight of every word. Then, unexpectedly, Mia walked in. Ellie's breath caught. Her twin looked pale, her eyes red from crying. "I need to say something," Mia said, her voice trembling. "I told Coach about Ellie because I thought it would protect her. I was wrong. I hurt my sister, and I'm sorry." The room fell silent. Ellie's throat tightened, torn between anger and the ache of their shared history. Mia had always been her shadow, her mirror. But this betrayal had cracked something fundamental. Yet seeing Mia's raw regret stirred something in Ellie. Maybe not forgiveness, but a flicker of understanding. The board chair cleared his throat. "We'll review all testimony and decide by tomorrow." Ellie left the hall, her emotions a tangle. Nora was waiting outside, her presence a bomb. "You were incredible," Nora said, pulling her close. Ellie buried her face in Nora's hair, drawing strength from her warmth. That night, Ellie finally listened to Mia's voicemails. They were raw, messy, full of regret. "I was jealous," Mia admitted in one. "You were always so fearless, and I wanted to be seen too." Ellie's heart ached. She didn't call Mia back, but the words stayed with her. The next morning, the board's decision came. Ellie was reinstated. Daniels was ordered to undergo sensitivity training, though he kept his job. It was a victory, but it felt hollow. The team welcomed her back, but the town's whispers didn't stop. Ellie knew this fight was far from over. She returned to practice, her cleats sinking into the familiar grass. The team rallied around her, their passes sharp, their energy high. But Ellie felt a shift inside her. Soccer was still her love, but it wasn't her whole world anymore. Nora was her world now, and the life they were building together. As practice ended, Ellie caught Mia watching from the bleachers. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Ellie didn't look away. She wasn't ready to forgive, but she was ready to try. She walked off the field, Nora waiting at the gate, and felt a new kind of strength. This was her life, and she was ready to live it. Back on the field, Ellie felt alive again. The ball at her feet a reminder of who she was. But the victory was bittersweet. The town's acceptance was uneven. Some cheered her return, others whispered behind her back. At practice, she pushed harder, her shots fiercer, as if she could outrun the judgment. Her teammates noticed, rallying around her with high fives and encouragement. But Ellie knew the real test was coming. The regional championship. The game was 2 weeks away, and Willow Creek's team was up against their rivals, the Dayton Hawks. Winning would mean a shot at nationals, a dream Ellie had chased since she was a kid. But the pressure was immense. Not just to win but to prove she belonged. Coach Daniels was colder now, his instructions clipped, his eyes avoiding hers. Ellie didn't care. She had her team, her purpose, and Nora. Nora became her rock, attending every practice, cheering from the sidelines. After one grueling session, they sat on the hood of Ellie's car, sharing a thermos of coffee as the sun dipped low. "You're unstoppable out there," Nora said, her smile soft. Ellie leaned into her, their shoulders brushing. "Only because you're here," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. But the town's undercurrent of prejudice persisted. A local diner refused Ellie's service one evening, the waitress muttering about family values. Ellie left, her face burning, but Nora followed her out, furious. "They don't get to define us," Nora said, her blue eyes fierce. She took Ellie's hand and they walked down the street, heads high, refusing to hide. Ellie's relationship with Mia remained strained. They hadn't spoken since the board meeting, but Mia kept showing up, at practices, at the park, lingering like a ghost. One evening Ellie found Mia waiting by her car. "Can we talk?" Mia asked, her voice small. Ellie hesitated, then nodded. They sat in a nearby cafe, the air heavy between them. "I was wrong," Mia said, her eyes fixed on her coffee. "I thought telling Coach would make things easier for you, force you to be open. But I was selfish. I wanted to be the one who fixed things." Ellie's chest tightened. "You broke my trust, Mia," she said. "I lost everything because of you." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I know. I'm trying to make it right." She reached into her bag and pulled out a petition, signed by dozens of locals, supporting Ellie's reinstatement. "I started this," Mia said. "It's not enough, but it's a start." Ellie stared at the paper, her emotions a storm. She didn't forgive Mia, not yet, but she took the petition, a small step toward healing. As the championship approached, Ellie threw herself into training. Sarah and Lila became her fiercest allies, organizing extra drills to sharpen the team's edge. The night before the game, Nora hosted a team dinner at her apartment. Laughter filled the room as they shared stories, the tension of the past weeks easing. Ellie looked around, her heart full. This was her family now, not just Nora, but these women who'd fought for her. The morning of the game, Ellie woke with a fire in her chest. She kissed Nora awake, whispering, "Today's for us." Nora smiled, her hand lingering on Ellie's cheek. "Go win, my love." At the stadium, the stands were packed, the air electric. Ellie felt the weight of every eye, but she channeled it into focus. The game was brutal. Dayton's defense was relentless, their striker a blur of speed. By halftime, the score was 0-0 and Ellie's legs burned. Daniel's halftime talk was all strategy, no heart. But Sarah pulled the team into a huddle. "This is for Ellie," she said. "Let's show them who we are." The second half was a war. Ellie scored the first goal, a screaming shot from 20 yards, and the crowd roared. But Dayton answered back, tying the game. With minutes left, Ellie saw an opening. She sprinted, stole the ball, and passed to Lila, who set up Sarah for the winning goal. The whistle blew and Willow Creek won 2-1. The team swarmed Ellie, lifting her up as the crowd cheered. Nora ran onto the field, throwing her arms around Ellie. Their kiss was brief but unapologetic, a defiance of every whisper, every stare. Ellie felt free, her heart soaring. This was her biggest win yet. But the game of life was far from over. The championship win was a high that carried Ellie through the week, but it didn't erase the scars. Willow Creek celebrated the victory, but some still looked at Ellie and Nora with disdain. Ellie didn't care as much anymore. She'd proven her worth on the field, and Nora's love was her true north. But there was one piece of her heart still unresolved: Mia. A week after the game, Ellie invited Mia to the park where they'd played as kids. The swings creaked under them as they sat, the silence heavy with years of love and hurt. "I'm sorry," Mia said again, her voice raw. "I was jealous of your courage, Ellie. You've always been so you. I wanted to be that strong." Ellie looked at her twin, seeing the girl who'd once shared her secrets, her dreams. "You hurt me, Mia," she said. "But you're my sister. I want us to find a way back." Mia's tears fell and she nodded. "I'll earn it," she whispered. They didn't hug, but they sat together, the first step toward mending. Ellie and Nora began to dream bigger. Nora's bookstore idea took shape, and Ellie started coaching youth soccer, inspiring kids who felt like outsiders. The town was changing slowly. Sarah and Lila organized a pride event, and more locals showed up than Ellie expected. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One evening, Ellie and Nora stood on their apartment balcony. The town spread out below them. The stars were bright, the air cool. "We did it," Ellie said, her arm around Nora. "We're still here." Nora leaned into her, her voice soft. "We're more than here. We're home." Ellie thought about the game she'd played, not just on the field but in life. She'd lost her spot, faced betrayal, fought prejudice, and won something greater: the courage to live authentically. Her love for Nora, her bond with her team, her slow reconciliation with Mia. These were her true victories. As they stood together, Ellie knew the biggest game wasn't about winning or losing. It was about showing up every day as herself. And with Nora by her side, she'd already won. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.